Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving deep into a topic that might just revolutionize the way you think about your fridge. We're talking about those everyday foods that, believe it or not, shouldn't actually be refrigerated. You heard that right? Sticking certain foods in the fridge can actually do more harm than good, affecting their taste, texture, and even their nutritional value. We're going to break down 12 of these foods, explaining exactly why they're better off left out on the counter. Before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future health and wellness tips. Let's get started. Alright, let's kick things off with a fan favorite, the tomato. Now, you might be tempted to toss your tomatoes in the fridge to keep them fresh, but trust me, you'll want to think twice. The cold temperatures of your refrigerator can actually damage the delicate membranes inside the tomato, leading to a mealy, less flavorful fruit. That's right, tomatoes are technically fruits. Instead of refrigerating them, store your tomatoes at room temperature, stem side down. This helps them retain their juicy texture and vibrant flavor. Remember, we want those tomatoes bursting with flavor, not tasting like they came straight from the Arctic. Keep them out of the fridge and enjoy them at their best. Next up, we've got potatoes, a staple in many of our diets. But did you know that storing potatoes in the fridge can actually make them taste sweeter than they should? Here's the deal. Cold temperatures convert the starches in potatoes into sugars. While this might sound appealing, it can actually throw off the flavor, especially if you're planning on using them for savory dishes. Instead of the fridge, find a cool, dark, and well-ventilated spot for your potatoes. Think pantry or a cool cupboard. This will help them maintain their ideal texture and flavor. Remember, potatoes are best enjoyed when they're nice and starchy, not overly sweet. So keep them out of the fridge and in a cool, dark place. Let's talk onions, the base of so many delicious dishes. Now, you might think the fridge is the perfect place to keep them fresh, but think again. Refrigerating onions can actually make them go soft and mushy. The cold, moist environment of the fridge can also make them more susceptible to mold growth. Not exactly appetizing, right? The best way to store onions is in a cool, dark, and well-ventilated area, similar to potatoes. Keep them away from direct sunlight and moisture. Remember, we want our onions crisp and pungent, not soft and moldy. So, skip the fridge and store them properly for maximum flavor and freshness. Chapter 4. Garlic, the king of flavor, is another ingredient that's best kept out of the fridge. Just like onions, garlic can become soft and rubbery when exposed to cold temperatures. Refrigeration can also cause garlic to sprout, which can affect its flavor and make it bitter. We want our garlic potent and flavorful, not sprouting like a science experiment. The ideal storage spot for garlic is a cool, dark, and dry place with good ventilation. A mesh bag or a basket works well to allow for air circulation. Remember, garlic is a flavor powerhouse and we want to keep it that way. Store it properly and enjoy its pungent goodness in all your culinary creations. Chapter 5. Let's talk bread, the ultimate comfort food. Now, you might be tempted to stash your bread in the fridge to prevent it from going moldy, but here's the catch. Refrigeration can actually make bread go stale faster. The cold temperatures of the fridge can dry out the bread, causing it to lose its soft, chewy texture. Nobody wants a mouthful of dry, crumbly bread. The best way to store bread for short-term use is at room temperature in a bread box or a paper bag. This helps retain its moisture and keeps it fresh. Remember, fresh bread is happy bread. Keep it out of the fridge and enjoy its soft, delicious goodness. Chapter 6. Honey, nature's liquid gold, is a pantry staple that lasts for ages. This golden syrup has been cherished for centuries, not just for its sweetness, but also for its remarkable longevity. In fact, honey has natural antibacterial properties that help preserve it, so it doesn't need to be refrigerated. These properties come from the enzymes bees add during the honey-making process, which create hydrogen peroxide and other compounds that inhibit bacterial growth. Refrigerating honey can actually cause it to crystallize, making it thick and difficult to pour. This crystallization process is natural and happens when the glucose in honey separates from the water, forming crystals. While crystallized honey is still safe to eat, it can be a pain to deal with when you just want a spoonful for your tea. To return it to its liquid state, you can gently warm the jar in a bowl of hot water. The best way to store honey is at room temperature in an airtight container. This prevents moisture from entering and keeps the honey fresh and smooth. This will help maintain its smooth, liquid consistency and preserve its natural flavors. Honey stored this way can last indefinitely without losing its quality. Remember, honey is a timeless treasure that doesn't need any help from the fridge. Its natural preservation methods are more than enough to keep it in perfect condition. Keep it at room temperature and enjoy its sweet, golden goodness. Whether drizzled on toast, stirred into tea, or enjoyed straight from the spoon, honey remains a versatile and delightful treat. Coffee lovers, this one's for you. While it might seem like a good idea to store your coffee beans or grounds in the fridge to preserve their flavor, it's actually a recipe for disaster. Refrigeration can cause coffee to absorb moisture and odors from other foods in your fridge. Imagine your morning cup of joe tasting like last night's leftovers. Not exactly ideal. The best way to store coffee is in an airtight container at room temperature, away from direct sunlight and heat. This will help protect its delicate flavors and aromas. Remember, coffee is a ritual, and every cup should be a sensory delight. Keep it out of the fridge and enjoy its rich, aromatic goodness. Bananas, the perfect on-the-go snack, are a staple in many households. They are another fruit that shouldn't be stored in the fridge, especially if they're not yet ripe. Unripe bananas need to be kept at room temperature to ripen properly. Refrigerating unripe bananas can actually interrupt their ripening process, leaving you with bananas that are green on the outside and chalky on the inside. This chalky texture is not pleasant to eat and can ruin your banana experience. Once bananas are ripe, you can store them in the fridge to slow down further ripening and prevent them from going bad too quickly. This is especially useful if you have bought a large bunch and can't eat them all at once. However, keep in mind that the cold temperature can cause the peels to turn brown or black, which might not look very appealing. But don't worry, the fruit inside will still be perfectly fine to eat and just as delicious. Remember, bananas are best enjoyed when they're ripe and yellow, bursting with flavor and nutrients. Store them at room temperature until they reach your desired ripeness, allowing them to develop their full sweetness and aroma. Then transfer them to the fridge if you want to slow down the ripening process and extend their shelf life. This way, you can enjoy your bananas at their peak for a longer period. Avocados, the beloved fruit, yes, fruit, known for their creamy texture and healthy fats, are another food that shouldn't be stored in the fridge, especially if they're not yet ripe. Refrigerating unripe avocados can actually prevent them from ripening properly, leaving you with hard, flavorless avocados. Nobody wants that. The best way to ripen avocados is to store them at room temperature, out of direct sunlight. Once they're ripe and yield to gentle pressure, you can store them in the fridge to slow down further ripening and extend their shelf life. Remember, patience is key when it comes to avocados. Let them ripen at room temperature, then transfer them to the fridge if you need to slow things down. Olive oil, the heart-healthy fat that's a staple in Mediterranean cuisine, is best stored at room temperature, away from direct sunlight and heat. Refrigerating olive oil can cause it to solidify and become cloudy. While this doesn't affect the quality or flavor of the oil, it can be inconvenient and affect its texture. The best way to store olive oil is in a cool, dark place, such as a pantry or a cupboard. Make sure the bottle is tightly sealed to prevent oxidation, which can affect its flavor over time. Remember, olive oil is a liquid gold that deserves to be treated with care. Keep it at room temperature and enjoy its rich, fruity flavor in all your culinary creations. Melons, like watermelon, cantaloupe, and honeydew, are refreshing and hydrating fruits that are best enjoyed at their peak of ripeness. These fruits are not only delicious but also packed with essential vitamins and nutrients. And guess what? Refrigeration can actually hinder their flavor and texture. When you store melons in the fridge, the cold temperature can alter their natural taste. Storing melons in the fridge can cause them to lose their sweetness and juiciness, making them less enjoyable to eat, making them taste bland and watery. This can be quite disappointing, especially when you're craving a sweet, juicy bite. Nobody wants a sad, flavorless melon. It's a real letdown when your expectations aren't met. The best way to store melons is at room temperature out of direct sunlight to ensure they ripen perfectly, until they reach your desired ripeness. This allows the natural sugars to develop fully. Once they're cut, you can store them in the fridge for a few days, but remember to keep them in an airtight container. But it's best to enjoy them as soon as possible for optimal flavor and texture. Freshly cut melons are a treat you don't want to miss. Remember, melons are meant to be bursting with sweetness and juiciness. Their natural state is what makes them so delightful. Keep them at room temperature for the most part, and only refrigerate them once they're cut, and savor their refreshing goodness. Enjoy every bite of these delicious fruits, knowing you've stored them the right way. Apples, a classic fruit that's enjoyed year-round, are best stored in a cool, dark place, such as a refrigerator crisper drawer. However, long-term storage in the fridge can actually cause them to lose their crispness and become mealy. If you plan on eating your apples within a week, storing them at room temperature is perfectly fine. However, if you want to extend their shelf life, the fridge is your best bet. Just be sure to store them in the crisper drawer, where humidity levels are higher to help them retain their moisture. Remember, apples are at their best when they're crisp, juicy, and full of flavor. Store them properly and enjoy their sweet, tart goodness. So there you have it, 12 foods you should think twice about before refrigerating. By storing these foods properly, you can help them retain their optimal flavor, texture, and nutritional value. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you found it helpful, and subscribe for more health and wellness tips. And be sure to let me know in the comments down below, what are some of your biggest food storage dilemmas? Until next time, stay healthy and keep those kitchens stocked with delicious, properly stored food.